Hello, everyone. Let's wait a couple of minutes for folks to get in. Thank you, everyone, for coming. But we'll wait a couple of minutes, get everybody going, and then we'll get started. And hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. This webinar is brought to you by TD SYNNEX Public Sector, an authorized BMC distributor, and the premier government solutions aggregator that specializes in understanding the IT needs and solving the challenges of federal, state, local, education, and health markets. My name is Marianne Antonelli. I am the BMC Marketing Campaign Manager at TD SYNNEX Public Sector. And today's topic is Automate IT with AI and Observability. Next slide, please. Before we get started, let's go over a few housekeeping items. Your lines will be muted for the duration of the webinar. However, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to drop any questions in the Q&A, or the chat field. This session will be recorded and be available on the DLT YouTube channel. If you have any technical questions, please message Felicia directly in the chat, who will assist you with your questions. And as a way of saying thank you to each of you who hang out with us till the end, you will get a $10 gift card from Starbucks. Next slide, please. And now a brief introduction for today's speaker. Michael Alonso is a senior principal engineer at BMC Software with 24 years of experience. He has held various positions with BMC and focused extensively on supporting the Department of Defense and U.S. federal civilian agencies. Michael currently leads the BMC Navy engineering team, where he is recognized by his customers as a trusted advisor and an integral part of team member. And without further ado, over to you, Michael.
Thank you so very much. I want to give one more quick introduction here. I want to say a huge thank you to one of my peers, Joseph Hassan. So for everybody that has questions in the chat window, Joseph will be answering those questions in real time. So please feel free to ask those questions and look out for responses from him. So with that, I think we should go ahead and get started. So give me 1 second while I share out my presentation. All right, Marian, can you please verify that my screen is sharing?
I can see your screen.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No
So again,
worries.
my name is Michael Alonso. I'm an engineer here with BMC, and today we're going to be walking through BMC's AIOps capabilities within our Helix platform. So I didn't think people wanted to listen to me do a PowerPoint for the next hour or so. So I decided, why not just go straight into a live demonstration? We're going to talk about our capabilities as we view them in a live environment. So what we're looking at here is the BMC Helix platform. Now, our BMC Helix platform has many, many different capabilities, not just in AIOps. And these are just some of the capabilities that you're seeing here on the screen. So first off, the thing that I think we should talk about is the platform itself, because the platform is very important to understand at a high level. So at that executive level, our platform is containerized. And what that means is basically we're sharing singular data sets across all capabilities within the BMC tool set. Now, what makes us special about being containerized? Well, when BMC decided to go to a platform-based solution, besides deciding that we wanted to be containerized, because being containerized allows us to do real-time in-place upgrades and eliminate that months and months and months of upgrading and planning and things like that to minutes. The other thing we did is we decided we wanted to be an open platform. So what does that mean and why? Basically, what that means is BMC built our Helix platform on open technologies. We're using things like Kafka, Kibana, Elk Stack, Elasticsearch, Grafana, Victoria Metrics, things like that to build this platform. What does that mean for you? Why is that so important? Most organizations out there that have platforms have built their platforms on proprietary technology. And while that works, it makes integration and adoption a lot more difficult because you're learning proprietary technologies. BMC wanted to use technologies that we knew our customers were already using in the field. This makes adoption rate much higher, and it also allows us to integrate with anything and everything that you've already invested in within your environment. You're going to hear me say that a number of times today about being an open platform, and it plays a critical role, as you will see, in AIOps about getting and gathering data that we desperately need to make this work properly in your environment, because we don't want just BMC data. We want all of your data, and you'll see why within the demonstration. Excuse me. So what you're looking at right here is the BMC platform itself and just some of its capabilities. Today, what we're going to be walking through is an executive level demonstration of some of the capabilities that we have as it pertains to AIOps. Now, in the short period of time we're going to be together today, obviously we're not going to be able to do deep dive, drill down capabilities within the tool set. But if you contact BMC, we will be happy to arrange a more technical deep dive as you see fit. And lastly, again, please, Joseph is monitoring the chat window for any questions. He'll fire off questions to me as time permits, as well as answering those questions in real time as we get started. So with that, let's go ahead and start with our first capability. And I think the best place for us to start is going to be our BMC Helix discovery capability. Now, you may be thinking, what does that have to do with AIOps? Honestly, discovery, and I'm choosing my words carefully here, is a critical part of the intelligence for AIOps, because at AIOps heart, it is an AI, ML, GPT platform that analyzes all of your data for you. While there is no training involved, it does need a little bit of information to perform some of its capabilities, and that information comes from a discovery tool. So I want to start off by showing you BMC's discovery tool very briefly. We're not going to go through, as I mentioned, all the different features and functionalities, but I'll show you what a host looks like. And then I want to show you what we really do that's special within BMC Discovery. So BMC Discovery is an agentless monitoring solution. That's really nice, especially for the field that we all work in, because that means we don't have to deploy anything to the hosts to be able to discover them. And this is just an example of what a host list looks like. Typically speaking, you would be searching for a host, or you would have groups of hosts and things like that. You would not just go in and randomly select a host like I just did, but I have 400 and something different hosts. You can see some basic information here. If you want to add additional information, we can do that and add tons and tons of information to the view screen. As you see right here, I can just add anything that I want. But for today's purposes, let's just select one. Let's take a look at this guy right here. So what you're seeing is the actual host information. It's just a simple, Linux server that we found. You can see what business service it's a part of, how many software instances that are related, how many runtime environments, its identity, ownership location, different operating system metrics. And here's something really important for OS and application information. We actually show you end of life information, things like retirement dates, end of support, end of extended support, end of security support, and so on. We update these dates on a monthly basis automatically for you. So you can actually run reports to say, show me everything that's going to be end of support in the next 6 months, and get ahead of the curve for updating your software, especially for the DoD people that are on the phone, because as you know, end of support means Cat 1 from DISA for our STIGs. Now, as we go further down, we're going to get into all of the hardware and storage information, and you can see all of this has the ability to drill down to get all the technical information about this device. So when we go through and we say we're starting to discover your environment, it's everything. We're talking about servers, cloud services, virtual machines, containerized network, storage. If it's out there, we're going to go find it and we're going to bring it into the system for you. Now, what's special about BMC Discovery is what we do next. When we go through and do our discovery, we're actually looking at observed communications and building out a model of your applications for you. So let me show you what that looks like. So here within our modeling, you're going to see that we have 82 in any state and 35 not published and 47 published. What does that mean? Publish means we're done with it. It is good to go. We want to publish that information for use in other capabilities. Other capabilities may be AIOps, it may be our capacity planning, it may be change and configuration management inside of our IT service management platform. There are lots of different capabilities that utilize are mapping technology. And then 35 that say not published, these are things that we're just working on or that we use for demos and things like that, that we've built out that are kind of in non-production status. So I want to go through, I'm going to choose a couple of things for us to go look at. Now, we have business services, we have business applications, and we have technical services. For today's purpose, I'm going to say business services. And then I'm going to choose very carefully what I want to show you because you're going to see it again. So when I say Apex watches, it gives me a bunch, again, technical information about this service. So things like, what is the business service? What are the dependencies for that business service? If we're going through, we're going to look at our connected software instances, what services, and you can see we have cloud stuff involved in here, all of our volume IDs and technical information. And that's great to know, but the fun part is when we click visualize. So what the system is doing is actually creating a uh, map for us. So typically speaking, when I work with things in force directed mode to start with. And I will zoom in for everybody. And you can see here, just really quickly, we have a legend to tell you what all the different icons mean and all the different connection points mean. And it's going to build out this service for us. We're going to do one live here in just a second. It's not going to have quite so much, a little bit easier to understand. But you can see all those different connections and all the different capabilities, and then we can actually drill down into these capabilities as we need to. But then the other amazing thing that we do, what makes this very important to us, is what the way we change things. So we can say impact. I want to show this in an impact status. So now I can see from the top of my service down to the bottom of my service what the impact of every one of these uh, devices or capabilities are within that service. Now, this is not just a standard impact graph. This is going to be utilized inside of AIOps, where we're going to be able to show you some amazing things where we utilize this technology. Now, you're probably thinking this is going to be really hard to do and this is going to take forever in my environment. And I'm here to tell you that's not the case. This is done automatically for you with something that we call Start Anywhere application modeling. So really simply, I can pick a starting point. It can be a server name, a host name. It can be a application name, an IP address, a MAC address. Just give me something to say, I want to start here for my model. Just very quickly, I'm going to say exchange. And we're going to let this search real quickly. There it goes. And my results are going to come up. So most relevant results. This is our big hint to you. Start here. And then all results. This is the noise in the environment. There's tons and tons of data in here, but most of which are not going to be relevant for starting off of modeling. So we have hosts. We have one. Notice I searched Exchange. I probably have a host name Exchange. Not really what I want. Software component 61. These are pieces of the software called Exchange. Not really what I want either. I want to start off with my application. So software instances. I have 24 instances of Exchange. Now you can see some things say Microsoft Exchange, some things just say Exchange or IaaS services. That's because I searched Exchange and not Microsoft Exchange. And I can just pick a place to start. I'll just pick one. Let's just go to Exchange Prado 1 right here. Again, it's going to give me this information. I'm going to visualize this. I want to work with this. Typically speaking, it's easier to work with than force directed. And you can see the different pieces and components that it makes up Microsoft Exchange here for us. Now, I want some more information in here. So we can choose how verbose we want to make this, how large we want to make this model. So you can see I have multiple Exchange servers here. And then we have our big five IPs coming in through our pool. So basically, here's our connection point through our F5 coming in through our IP address pools and into our Exchange environment. Well, if I want to make this a larger model, you notice everything has a plus symbol on it. And I can start expanding as much as I want. Now, how do I select what I want and what I don't want? Pretty simple if we can all use a mouse. I changed this from drag mode to select mode. And now you see when I hit the screen, it gives me a selection tool. just as simply as circling what we want. I don't want that. Those are all agents. And you can see I really don't want agents in my system. And all that is part of Exchange. Now, after I circle everything, I let go. Everything that I wanted is highlighted. I can say model. Let's just call it a technical service, new technical service. We're going to call it Exchange, and I don't want to publish this. But I have now created a new technical service called Exchange, and now I can change that layout to Impact. Once I publish it, then I can go through and start saying utilize this in other technologies. So why did I show you this? Again, you're going to see it again here in just a few minutes. You're going to ask questions. How did you get all these models created? Well, this is just one of the methods that we utilize to get the models into our system. The other one is through open technologies, and we're going to talk about those open technologies as we move forward. But essentially, I can pull model information from things like Dynatrace, from Splunk, from SolarWinds, anything that you, as I mentioned before, that you've invested in, that you've taken that time to implement in your environment. We can go through and we can start pulling that information into our system. So with that, I'm going to end the demonstration of our discovery technology here and move on as part of the demonstration. So now we started with bringing data in from a discovery standpoint. Now we need to start talking about bringing other data in. We bring other data in a couple of different methods. First off, I'm going to show you very briefly. We have BMC Helix Intelligent Integration. So our intelligent integration is our integration engine. And this has the ability to go through and attach to any of the other systems that you have in your, oops, I did our intelligent automation. I apologize to that. We changed our location. We're going to go through and attach to different systems and pull data into BMC. And you're going to see how that works right here. So we have our different data sources. In this case today, I'm bringing data in from AWS CloudWatch, Catchpoint, and Dynatrace. Again, you're going to see all this data here in just a few minutes when we actually start looking at the true AIOps views. But I like showing you how we got there. So all of our data is coming into the system. Now we bring data in three different ways. The first way is traditional. That's something we've been doing since, I've been doing in my career since the late 90s. That's event information. Event information is critical. We want to bring all of our event data into the system to be analyzed. I'm sorry, it never fails. We're going to defer that. Um, we're going to bring all this event information into our system to be analyzed, and we're going to show you that here as part of the AIOps solution. But we also do integrations and other methods that you're seeing. We're now bringing in metric data. So I want to bring in not just events from third-party sources, but the metrics from third-party sources to be analyzed. And that's huge. And we can even show you that metric data from our console without actually having to go back into those third-party systems immediately. And then the last thing is something that BMC is doing that very few, if any, people are doing, and that's third-party integrations for topology. As I spoke about just a few minutes ago, in this case, you're going to see topology information coming in from Dynatrace. Why is that important? Well, it's important because in this case, Dynatrace has a different discovery technology than we do. We're looking at, from the physical plant, server, storage, network, cloud, things like that. Dynatrace is actually looking inside of applications and the data calls that are going on inside of the applications. And we can layer those on top of each other. If you have a networking tool that's getting very detailed, granular network maps, we can overlay that type of information to give you a very complete picture of your environment without having to instrument a bunch of additional tools and taking advantage of what you have. Really simply, we have tons of these out of the box and we add them very often. And these are just some of the examples of what we have out of the box. And these are all point and click integrations to set them up. You just select what you want, you enter in, let's just say AWS CloudWatch. I need your access key, your secret key, your region, if you have a proxy, and off to the races we go. Very simple there. Once you get in there, I'll just edit one. You can go through and you can then select, what you want to bring in. So I can select my namespaces, things like that. What data do I want to bring into the system? And then filter all the rest of it out in case you don't want everything. And we now have data coming into BMC. So very simply, that is our integration engine. If you didn't see something that was listed there, we have additional ones that I don't have loaded, as well as we have an open API integration where we can go after just about anything in the environment. Now, once we have data coming in from that method, we need to do something with it. And that's where our Helix operations management comes in. Now, I will tell you, you're not going to spend a lot of time here, but it's an important concept to understand. When we talk about Helix operations management, this is traditional operations management, as you're going to see here in a second. We're going to start off with our event management screen. And we all hate these. I know, I call it the skill screen. Every color of the rainbow, red, orange, green, blue, yellow, all these events that are happening. But it's important to understand because we're doing things different. This is the first time you're seeing our AI kick in. And you're probably wondering, I don't see any AI here, but it is. So the first thing we're doing is event noise reduction. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But most importantly, in today's environments, especially with what I showed you about bringing all the data in here very easily with our integration engine, there's going to be too much data to comprehend. It's just there's so much data now. As I mentioned earlier, I'll date myself here. I go back to the late 90s. Back then, we were begging for events, begging for information. Today, we're literally waving the white flag because there's so much information we don't know what to do with it. We need help. And just looking at events, hey, we're going to look at critical events. Anything that turns red, we're going to attack that first. But more importantly, I need to know, what does that mean to me? What does it mean to my environment? What does it mean to the services that I'm providing our end users, like the warfighter out performing tasks for our nation? And then when we look at that, we need to say, how does that affect how we want to execute actions? So what we're looking at here is our event list, but there's a lot more than what you're seeing here. So when you look at these numbers, you're seeing events. So we have a media service or Apex watches, and you can see what the messages are. Well, that's the root message that the system wants you to see. But in this case, see that 18? 18 related events to media service. So if we select on that, what we're actually going to show you is when we were doing event management and we're seeing all the events come into the system. Oh, please don't let my internet be going out. I apologize. I have some weather going on today here in Houston, and things might be a little bit slow. But essentially, what that means is there are 18 related events, and we'll see those 18 related events in another view here. But there are 18 related events that came in from media service from disparate different systems. And what the system has done is aggregated those 18 events into a singular event, saying, hey, we had 18 things come in, but the important thing for you to know is the media service is being affected. Here's what's being affected, and here's all the 18 associated events. Why is that critically important? It really gets you a head start on who needs to be involved to start the troubleshooting process. But more importantly, when we start cutting tickets into your IT service management platform, you are going to get a singular event. This is going to be the event that you get. And in that ticket, you will get all 18 additional events that have associated to that primary event. So what does that mean? In traditional world, you would get 18 tickets cut into IT service management, all those events coming in. And those are going to get 18 separate tickets going to probably, 10, 15, 18 different people across 4, 5, 6, 7 different groups. And now you have all these people chasing the same situation. Now you're going to have it and from a singular standpoint to be able to look at all the pieces of what's going on with the environment, not 18 different individual pieces. The other thing I want to show you in here, and again, you're not going to spend any time in here. This is not a normal view our customers look at, but we also have our monitoring. So I mentioned earlier, if you have monitoring already set up in your environment, we're going to integrate. We're going to utilize what you have. If you don't have monitoring set up in your environment, we have agent-based and agentless monitoring available for you to implement as part of this solution. So that's what you're seeing right here is all the different things that we're monitoring. We have 386 devices being monitored, but you're not seeing that. The only thing you're seeing, I have it filtered out, is to show me what's in a non-okay status. If it's okay, I really don't want to worry about it. I don't want to see it. But right here, you're seeing everything that we're monitoring. Some via agent, some via agentless. Now, the agent versus agentless conversation goes as such. Agentless, it's awesome. I don't have to deploy anything. I don't have to upgrade anything. I don't have a code base to maintain. The downside of agentless is we are stuck utilizing protocols that are built into operating systems that we can connect to via an agentless manner. So while it gets very good information, it is a limited amount of information. Whereas an agent, the downside to the agent is you have an agent to deploy and a code base to maintain. Now, the good news about that is we can do all that from our centralized console. Uh, the good thing about having an agent out there is we can get thousands and thousands and thousands of parameters for anything and everything that you would ever want to monitor for a system. Most of my customers are going with the hybrid approach. They go agentless where agentless makes sense. And then when they need that more deep dive visualization into a system, we utilize that agent base. And the last thing I'll say here is location and type is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it's virtualized, containerized, standard IT. It doesn't matter if it's on-prem, if it's in the cloud, where it resides, if it's storage, if it's network, whatever it may be, we can go after and bring that discovery, that monitored data into our system. So just a, quick example, if I click on one of these, you'll see that we have, data coming in from third-party systems. But in this case, hey, we've got some Oracle WebLogic information coming in. Now, what you're seeing is a parameter graph. Again, we're going to see this again here in a little bit in a more detailed view inside of our dashboards. But what's important to understand is if I don't want to do a multi-metric comparison, I can go through and I can say single metric, but then with single metrics, if I have graph data, I can say what my minimums, my maximums are. I can go through and turn on my baselines. And that's the first set of some of the AI when it works with metrics. We need to understand what normal is for your environment. So we're going to get this metric data, and then we're going to analyze it, and we're going to understand what is normal for your environment based on time of day and day of week. And we're going to utilize that because we have some alerts that are going to come out that are a little bit different than most. So traditional monitoring, you have your warnings. Let's just say you say it set it at the 80th percentile and you have your alarm set at the 90th percentile. Well, we have something called an abnormality. This means that you are running in an abnormal state. It does not necessarily mean that you are in a critical state. A good example, let's say at this time of day, you have a web server and CPU normally runs at 20%. And right now it's running at 50%. Are we anywhere near a critical mass threshold? Absolutely not. But you are running more than 100% outside of normal baseline. Chances are you need to take a look at this. So that's where you get those abnormalities. Not necessarily a critical event, but it is outside of what the system has deemed normal behavior for that particular system. So that all happens right here inside of the monitoring component. Again, it's nothing fancy to look at, but it's an important thing to understand. What most of our users want to see is going to be our service monitoring. This is going to be more of that end user view into all of the data that I just showed you. So when we start looking at service monitoring, we're going to go through and we're going to see our overview page. Now, with our overview, you can see we have a total of 52 events. I don't have any anomalies right now. We have seven incidents. Our mean time to repair is about a minute, and we're at a 90% noise reduction. The important thing to understand here is that noise reduction. The AI is going through and correlating everything for you. It's taking those 18, like we saw earlier, it's taking those 18 events down to a singular situation. It's going through and looking at repeat events and putting data counters on them. It's going through and reducing all that information and getting to the root of what you need to be looking at. What is causing issues in my environment? What is causing a delay or an impact to the services I'm delivering to my customers? And that's what we're seeing here. And we're seeing it in two different types of views. Now, you can get to the same bit of information no matter where you start, whether you start in services or situations. Services is exactly what it sounds like. We have 47 services in our environment. And you can see here when it says top services, these are the top services that are having issues. Out of those 47, you can see the top five that are having issues in my environment, and we can drill down upon those. On the right-hand side, situations. These are essentially, you can call them problems in my environment. These are the problems within the services that are causing the services to have, a not normal uh, view here. So when we start drilling down, we can look at these in different manners. I'm going to show you, services real quick, just so you can see what this looks like. This is a view a lot of my customers like. This is a tile view. Now you can see all those 47 services right here. Most of them are in the OK status. And if they're in the OK status, they're just listed alphabetically, as you can see. But if something is not in an OK status, you're going to see it right here, and you can drill down upon that. We also have a view where if you want to view it in a heat map perspective. So very easy to go through and take a look at that. We can also go look at the situations and we can see, what's critical situations, what's related from this manner. Personally, I normally just start from this overview screen, and we're going to drill down again into both sides of what we're looking at. So on the left-hand side, we have some situations. Now, remember I said you'd see something again? I clicked on that Apex watches inside of BMC Discovery. I did that intentionally. So when we see Apex watches right here, I'm going to select that. And a bunch of information is going to start displaying. Now, let's start at the top. If we look at up here, Service Apex watches AWS. Now, obviously, this is an AWS service for us. Now, we have a health score of 56. I can hover over that and you can see, what a health score of 56 means. It means it's a, major incident. We have three impacting child services. This is really, really important. It goes to understanding what the impact is of the delivery of a service. So while apexwatches.com is having a problem, there are three other child services that depend on Apex watches. So we can actually go through and select that, and you can see that, core networks and our core infrastructure and our CRM are all related to this larger service here. We have incidents. Remember, we said 18 incidents. We can go through and we can select those incidents. Here's all 18 incidents. We're going to drill down on this uh, a little bit later. Now, those incidents can be correlated into a singular ticket. Then we have total of events, 16. Again, we can drill down into that as we will. And then how many of those events are impacting all of them? What I actually like is my health timeline. So right here, you can see events, incident, and change. So what we had is an event occur this morning. And then with that, it created an incident. And then you can see a couple other events that were happening throughout the timeline where things started, falling to pieces. That happened intentionally this morning. I, got into the system this morning and broke a few things because looking at everything in an OK status can be rather boring. So, like I said, when I logged in this morning, I started breaking a few things for us to have something to take a look at. Now, if we go down, here is the exact same model I showed you inside of BMC Discovery. And you're all probably wondering that doesn't look anything like what you showed me. And you would be correct. The reason is AI has taken in and it's put a set of filters in for us. It took that huge model and said, yeah, there's tons of stuff here, but this is what we need you to concentrate on. You can see I have a causal node here, and we can go through and it's 73% probability. This is our causal node. And you can see some of the pieces that are associated with that. And we're going to make this a much larger model. But how do we do that? Well, first off, we're going to need more real estate. So I can click on this icon right here, and it's just giving me more real estate on my screen. And you can see I've got my filters in here. Let's get rid of some filters. Now, it's a little bit bigger than what you just saw. Again, we can start drilling down. Now, what you can see is every one of these has an associated number. And we can start drilling down and we can make this model as large as we need to get a complete picture within the environment. Down here, again, we can move where our view is. If we want to actually zoom in or zoom out to get a better picture, we can definitely do that. So very easy. We can also filter things out. Right now, we're showing everything. If I don't want to show storage, I filter out my storage. So now I've got a kind of a better view here. I don't care about my network components. So now I'm basically looking at cloud, host, and containers, and software and databases. So we can get, again, better view. Very easy to go through any of that bit of information. I'm going to close that down a little bit. The other thing that you're seeing here is service hierarchy. Again, so we have Apex watches, but we have other services, as we saw earlier when we clicked up here into child services, that are causing impacts to this larger service. So we can model that out as well. And if you click on any of these, I can drill into those different services at a technical view. We're going to do that here in just a second. The other thing down here that we have is we have the ability to analyze situations, and we have the ability to get our root cause analysis. So it's going to give you those different views, and it's going to give us things like incident IDs that were created. And it's going to tell me things like related situations. If it was a primary situation, if it was, in this case, it was machine learning based. And then we also have automations. If we have an automation that we want to take place, we can actually look at that from that perspective. And then if there's any changes that were related, in this case, here's a change ID. We had a switch firmware upgrade within core networks. And when they did that, after that change, we started having some issues. So let's take a look at that. Let's drill down into that. So we can click on, in this case, core networks, and we're seeing all that additional pieces, those pieces of information, and we can drill down on any one of these additional pieces of information. But you can see the bullseye. That's saying, hey, we think this is one of your probable issues with this network outage causing other things. And again, it took us to situations. I want to show you situations in a different manner. I want to go, let's say we look at the Apex watches again. We're going to do a couple of these because I want you to see a couple different types of situations. So now the AI has truly kicked in. So what are we looking at here? So here's our situation or our problem. So the first thing it does is we have our AI. Our GPT has kicked in and given you a real language summary of what has happened in this environment. You're going to see a couple ways of looking at this. So here's exactly in plain English, not technical mumbo jumbo, of what's happening in your environment right now. Then says, hey, we have some remediation steps. Now, these remediation steps, they're being generated by AI. That's why it's taking a second here. That's our little icon while the system's thinking. And then it's going to give us the ability to go through and generate some remediations. Now, when we come down towards the center section, we'll come back up to this. Oh, here they are. It takes a second. We can identify try to identify the root cause. We can analyze Java. We can go through and check our network issue, and we can solve our low traffic issue. We can check our monitoring responses, all these different things. But notice a couple of these things are unique. They say code wizard. Well, what the AI has done is, hey, we want to go through and analyze Java and look at the garbage collection because that's where we're getting an event from. I can click on Code Wizard, and again, the AI takes over. I'm not doing anything right here but waiting. And then here is the code that I need to execute to do that. I can copy that to my dashboard. And in this case, it's an Ansible. I can do Bash. I can do Python. And when I copy that in my dashboard, I can go into our automation component, which you'll see here in a few minutes, drop that into an automation, run it, and get my results back. Notice for these, troubleshooting steps and things like that, I didn't do anything but copy and paste. I don't have to be a scripter or a coder or anything like that. The AI will do that for you. The other thing you're seeing with AI up here is Ask Helix GPT. This is fun. All right, so we have pre-built questions in here that you can ask GPT and see what's going on. So it's saying, yeah, hi, how may I help you today? Well, we can say, what's the impact of this issue? And our AI, our GPT, is going to go through. You're still working. Okay, that's understandable. Give you a second here. And it's going to go through. And now, again, in plain English, it's going to give me what's going on, a little bit more than that summary that you saw up here, in a little bit more detail of what's going on. Okay, has this happened in the past 7 days? What's my history with this? And it's going to go through and check history, see if this is a one-time thing or if it's a reoccurring issue, things like that. And we can see. So we can go through and pull information. I can ask it what's going on with log files. I have log insights. So it's going out to our log file management system. So part of our AI solution that we're not going to get to today, unfortunately, is we have complete enterprise log file management. And in this case, there's no logs to generate this information for this particular event, but I just wanted to show you that we have that log capability. Now, when we come down, we start looking at large language models. So with the LLM, we want to see where our current situation is and where this has happened before. Do we have a discernible pattern of this happening? How often is this happening? Is it happening every Wednesday at a particular time? That way we can go through and say, hey, look, what's happening Wednesday at this time that's causing this? So we can have this in an aggravated view. If you want, to really look at all this information, we can, get much larger views with more data. Then we come down to what I personally think is a critically important part to our AI. So when we give you those probable causes and we say, this is our root cause information, most organizations out there, this is the Kentucky Fried Chicken secret ingredient, right? Our AI and how we came up to that decision is proprietary information. It's super secret, and we're not telling you, just trust us. Sorry, but I don't trust anyone, especially if I'm making mission critical decisions about things to do to my environment and potentially an application that's affecting, let's say a warfighter. So what BMC has done is taken the veil off and said, hey, here's how BMC made that decision. And you can drill down on any piece and component of this. So you can see where our event is, our root cause, what our consequences are. And you can see when I hover over these, they also highlight inside of the model where that information is coming from. So you can drill down and understand exactly what's going on and how we came to those decisions to give you that root cause view. But also, I want to look at it from an event perspective. So here's those events. Remember, I said the system, when we looked at that event management screen, I said, once it's up and running, nobody really looks at that. This is the view everybody wants to see because I'm not looking at hundreds and thousands. I mean, I have customers that are getting tens of thousands of events an hour. I just want to see the important stuff and how it relates to my environment. And this is that bit of information. We can drill down on any piece of this. I can say, oh, okay, here's Dynatrace. Give me my Dynatrace information. I can go through and say, we have memory utilization above a particular percentage. Whatever you want to do to look at that information, we can definitely bring that in. We can see what our impact scores are and how our priorities are. You can see if it's created an incident. Now, what I want to show you is that most of these are a part of a singular incident. So we split it into two incidents. One actually happens to be network, one happens to be the system, and we've tied them together so they can work as one within the solution. But you can see this is not 18, 19 different events. This is, or incidents, it's two. And we can go through here and you can see some additional, information coming in from the system. So most of this is coming in via Amazon. So very easy to do. Now, the other thing I want to show you is this really cool thing that says automation's available. So the system is going to determine if there are any applicable automations to the system. And in this case, there is. So we can say one automation. And if we want to run that automation, this happens to be a diagnostic automation. We can run that. I can say, yes, run that. And I refresh. I can see that it's running. Let's refresh again. If I go view my history, it's going to take me into my automation tool. And then right here, you can see, look at the date. This was today, just now. It's still running, but we can go through. It's doing diagnostic check, and I can go see. all the information about that diagnostic check. Now, here inside of intelligent automation, you can see we have automations for all kinds of things. So it's going to go through and we can run any automation. We can create any automation. We can request any automation be created. You can actually go from the system that we were in saying, hey, there's no automation here. I want to request it. It will package all the information up, the code base up, everything, and put a request in for your automation person to create that. Very easy. It is not coding based. It is literally like Visio. It is low code, no code, drag and drop to create these automations. You do not have to be a programmer or coding guru to be able to create these automations. But most importantly, open platform, open platform, open platform. We talked to you about open platform at the beginning. We talked to you about open platform of bringing in metric data, event data, modeling data. I'm talking to you open platform again. We are not an automation tool. We are actually an automation broker. So what does that mean? That means if you have an automation tool that you've already deployed, I know a lot of people are in the, for this specifically is government space. Many, especially in the DoD, have standardized on Ansible. That's great. I can use Ansible. I will pass that automation off to Ansible. Ansible executes it, brings me back the response. You can see how you can use AWS. I have a generic REST connector. I can do Kubernetes. And then also, if you don't have an automation tool in your environment, BMC would love to help you with that. We're not going to be talking about our automation tools today, but we do have some automation tools available that we can help instrument your environment if that's something that you need to do. But just understand, if you have some of the other tools that you're seeing here, we can actually take advantage of different automation tools and we act as that automation broker. So we can run all of your different playbooks, all your different code books, all your different automations. Our AI can make suggestions of what should potentially be run, and we can send those off to be executed. And then we just get the return information so we can see that here in the console. We can also add that information into your IT service management ticket. So I just wanted to show that very briefly here. Now, I wanted to show just another situation here just to show you something different. Um, Now, what you're going to see here is because I didn't pre-stage this, the AI is kicking in and it's now again kicking in the AI. You can see different things. This happens to be network. It looks very, very similar, just different sets of information. So my point being, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be storage, it can be network, it can be cloud. No matter where it's coming from, it's going to get that bit of information and show you, where your automations are. In this case, there are two automations available. Do I want to do a network configuration reset or do I want to run network diagnostics, or I can run them both? So you can see all that information, same type of information, different type of data that we're analyzing. This happens to be all network data from our network monitoring solution. I think the last thing I want to show you in here, so I showed you uh, Apex watches. I want to show you media service real quick from a service perspective because there's one thing, that we want to look at, and that's going to be, where we started seeing the events. And I think I have some history here. So if I go looking past 7 days, we can see here earlier today. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit on that. Let's go the last 6 hours. I wanted to show you this. Going back to that original standpoint. So we've talked about change a little bit. You can see we are tied into change management. I showed you earlier inside the details where that change showed that, hey, we had a change in the network and then things started breaking. Well, you also have the overview change here. So we're showing you timeline. Change happened here, about, at 6:18 this morning. And then here at 8:23, we start having problems. These may be related, they may not be related, but it's something for you to understand as part of the troubleshooting process. Data is king. We want to be able to show you all of that. So you've seen our different AI components. We have our machine learning, we have our large language models, and we have our GPT capabilities to analyze anything and everything in your environment. Again, it's not a one and done. It's not just BMC data. It's all data with this open platform. You've seen our automation tool. Again, automation broker, open platform, utilizing whatever you have in your environment from an automation tool perspective. You have seen our integration engine to create that open platform. We have all of our different integrations, very easy to bring data into the system. What I want to end today with is a little bit of a different view. So again, a lot of our customers love keeping that service monitoring component up, but we also have our management chain, not engineers like myself. And what I want to show you real quick is lastly and end with this is going to be our Helix dashboards. So we have our dashboarding technology. Some of you may have heard of. It's Grafana. So many of our customers, actually most of my customers, utilize Grafana today. We have 100 different dashboards in here. Again, if you want to go into the dashboarding, world, we can definitely do that on an individual demonstration. I just want to show a couple different dashboards today as some examples where we have high-level executive view dashboards all the way down to very technical dashboards. So in this case, let's start with something like a CXO dashboard. Now in here, we're going to start drilling down on pieces of information. I can go through and drill down on any location based on the map. You can see some of those service systems that we saw earlier. We can get CI information. We can launch the dashboards, things like that, additional technical dashboards. I can come over here into customer service management, NPS scores, CSAT scores, things like that. Let me move that. Coming down, HR service management, security operations management, so SecOps, innovation and investments. We're talking financials here, project management here. We have green IT, people and efficiency, coming down all the way into operational health and KPIs. We can drill down into additional dashboards. If I click right here, I can go straight into right where we were. Look, we go from a dashboard right into our instant banking. If I want to click a different one, I can go into a different dashboard. However you want to go through and see this information, we have the ability to go through and drill down into that information for us. We can also link additional more technical dashboards. So if we go to Apex Watches, yes, I want to discard that. This is more of a technical dashboard. So we can go through and say, hey, we want to look at our, transaction error rate, technical graphs, models, things like that. I can go look at my user experience. I can look at application performance metrics, whatever you want to go to. Now, yes, can you go in and look at the metrics inside of that operations management console I showed you where you can see the graphs and things like that? Yeah, you can do that. But most of our customers choose to look at all that information in dashboards that they've created. I can go through, look at my infrastructure. And again, if I want to drill down into any of this, I can go into one of my additional dashboards. I can go directly back into the operations management console. And if the data is coming from a third party, I can cross launch into a third party if I need to. So in this case, with Dynatrace, I can jump right into Dynatrace if I need to. I can cross launch into my AIOps and into Dynatrace. So whatever I need to do from a dashboarding perspective, whether it be executive level down to engineering level and everywhere in between, we can definitely go through and do that. And like I said, I'm not going to have time to go through all the dashboards today, but you can just see these are just the folders of the dashboards, whether it be IT service management, project portfolio management, anything along those lines. We definitely have the capability to go through and get you complex dashboards and create these dashboards. Like I said, it's just Grafana. Most of our customers are utilizing Grafana today in their environments to create dashboards. It's nothing different here. So with that, I know that was a lot from an executive level, just try to get you through here. Notice I didn't get very technical in anything that we showed today. It's just kind of the high level walkthrough. Again, if there is anything you want to double click on, drill down on, get additional information, have more of a technical conversation, use case based conversation, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to schedule that for you. So, with that, I'm going to ask Joseph if there are any questions that need to be addressed here that have not been addressed within the chat window.
Hey, thank you. Great job, Mike. It was an awesome demo. The only question that I haven't answered, most of them I have, is how is security and access control handled to all of these dashboards visualization?
So, a couple things. So, it's role-based access control. So, all your users have role-based access control. I showed a lot of things. Obviously, I'm in here as the top level engineer. I can do anything I want. That's normally, as you would imagine, not the case in a production environment. Things like, hey, I've got a code wizard here. Let me copy and paste code and just execute it. Not, you're not going to want everybody just to be able to do that. Even clicking on, I want to run a remediation. Maybe you allow some people to run certain remediations and some people not. I can see the whole world. I can see everything in the Helix platform. I can see every service. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe when you go into service monitoring, if I am an application owner and I own, let's just say the media service, when I click here, maybe that's the only thing that I see. I don't get to see Apex watches, or I don't get to see, all the core networking things like that. In most cases, I probably don't care about that. All that is controlled. Visualization, access, what you can do and what you can't do is all controlled by role-based access control. And just one thing to point out, I really didn't say at the beginning, and I should have. As far as delivery, yes, this is containerized, but it is a SaaS system. We offer this as a FedRAMP IL4 and IL5 solution. We also offer this as a FedRAMP moderate solution. We also offer this in a commercial cloud. And then finally, we offer this as a on-prem containerized solution, all of which you can address the security settings, the role-based access control, anything and everything that you have out there. Anything else out there, Joseph?
No, it's one of the question, I believe the last was how granular is rollback access? And I said based on organization requirement, it's very scalable. So we can go as deep as possible.
Correct. All right. Well, if there are no additional questions, I know an hour of everybody's time is difficult at best these days. So I just truly want to thank everyone for joining in. And again, if you have technical questions for Joseph and I, or you want a personalized demonstration, maybe go a little bit deeper into these tools or any of the other capabilities that you see within the BMC Helix portal, whether that be talking about our open telemetry or our capacity planning, our IT service management, anything that we have available to us from literally from mobile to the mainframe, all the way out to our Helix Edge capabilities, where we're monitoring things like aircraft and vehicles and things like that from an edge perspective, manufacturing, smart hospitals. We can definitely do it all right here within the BMC Helix platform. So with that, thank you very much. And I'm going to turn this back over.
All right, everybody. If there are any last minute questions, please do so and put it in the chat or the Q&A box. There are a bunch of questions that were answered by Joseph here in the Q&A. So if you have a second, we'll try to capture all of the questions and the answers to those, and we will send that out to you. But if there are no more questions, one last call.